Yes, we're coming in hot this morning on Community Voices right here live at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. I am your host for this morning, the Reverend Doctor. You can call me Denise. And I am rolling solo this morning. Toney is not here. He is taking care of some business. I'm sure he will tell you all about it when he gets the chance. But I want to make sure that I pause for the cause, and that cause is to express our gratitude. There is no way that we would be alive today right here at KABF 88.3 FM for almost 41 years if it were not for you. All of the ways that you show up for us, yes, during Pledge Drive, but even beyond that, you show up in so many different ways. And we want you to know that we don't take that for granted. We appreciate you. All of the ways you encourage us, all of the ways you support us, all of the ways that you challenge us, all of the ways that you provoke us, all of the ways that you are just present for us. We are grateful. So in the spirit of gratitude, I greet you this morning by saying Sawubona. I'm inviting you to receive me into your space, the whole of who I am, as I receive all of who you are. You don't have to check any identities at the phone. Usually you say at the door, but since we are not in person, you don't have to check any of them when you call on the phone. You can be everybody, whoever you are. You can show up just like you are, and we will receive you in that spirit. I do want to let you know that the phone lines are already open at 501-433-0088. The phone lines are open at 501-433-0088. There are some of you who have something to say, but you would rather not say it on the air. You want Charles to send me a message, and that is perfectly fine. If you are that person, the number to call is 501-372-6119. Again, 501-372-6119. That's the number to the office for those of you who do not want your voices live on the air at 501-433-0088. And some of you don't want to call the studio at all. You would rather hit me up personally, and I have a direct line for you. It is area code 228-236-7440. That's area code 228-236-7440. So those are all of the options that you have to make sure that you know how important your voice is to us. We are KABF 88.3 FM, the voice of the people. Want to make sure we say, Hotel, he on the line already. Thank you for sending us life, prosperity, and health this morning. We are always glad to have you helping us along this conversation. I want to tell you why I chose Boys to Men singing End of the Road as a way to ground our conversation. And then I'll also use the EJI tidbit to further fortify the source for this conversation this morning. But Boys to Men, a Black male music artist, they're musical artists. They're singing this song because it is evident that in this heterosexual relationship that one of them has with this woman, the relationship has reached a point where she wants to walk away. Basically, it sounds to me like she's already walked away. And he's feeling some kind of way. Like, I don't want you to walk away. I love you so much. Can we figure something out? So he wants to try to redefine the relationship. Let's just say, okay, we've reached the end of the road that we were on before, but I want to keep going. So how can we keep going? What are the different ways that I need to show up? What are the things that you need to stop doing? Because he accuses her of infidelity. So what are the things you need to stop doing? I'm willing to stop doing some things. Just please, please, please do not leave me. Yes, we can say that we're at the end of the road now, but how can we keep going? And I think that many of us, when we hear this song, it's dear to us. I know when I first heard it years ago, it's dear to us. As a matter of fact, I've either sent it to somebody or somebody has sent it to me regarding our relationship. And it at first it sounds like we're saying, oh my goodness, this love is so great. It is so wonderful. It is so powerful that I cannot imagine life without you. And for some of us, that sounds like a good kind of love. For some of us, that sounds like a love that we want in our lives. But if you think more deeply into the words, sometimes he sounds suicidal. Right? Sometimes he sounds homicidal. Sometimes he sounds like a stalker. Like this kind of love that where you can't imagine your life. Like you can't imagine living life, continuing with your life without this person. Like that's problematic. The kind of love that makes you put your hands on a person because you just love them so much that you're trying to control them because you want them to be who you want them to be. That's problematic. The kind of love that says if I can't have you, nobody else can. I will kill the person who wants to be with you next. That's problematic. And so when we think about the song in that way, and then we think about domestic violence issues, or not even, domestic violence, intimate partner violence, what we learn is that when you decide, whatever's going on in your relationship, whether it's physical violence or not, whether it's emotional violence, psychological violence, sexual violence, whatever it is that makes you say, I'm going to get out of this relationship because it is not healthy, it is toxic, it is hurtful, it is painful, somebody gonna end up dead. Whatever it is that's causing you to make that step, what we learn through intimate partner violence, through domestic violence, is that once you decide to take that step, once you decide that you are no longer going to allow a person to control you, once you realize your worth, once you realize your value, once you are ready to stand 10 toes down on knowing who you are and honoring and celebrating who you are, that is the most dangerous time in your life, because the person who has been controlling you now realizes they've lost control, and so they double down. They double down, and in many cases, somebody ends up dead. Now, when I think about what's happening in this world right now, I feel like I can relate that to this song, End of the Road. I feel like as people, and especially as people of color, and particularly as Black folks, we have come to the end of the road with this world. It is a toxic environment. It is highly problematic. It is controlling. It is unhealthy. It is violent. And we have finally decided that enough is enough. This administration that has come in for the second time continues to prove itself that this is who they are, this is who they want to be. And many of us have said, you know what, we're not doing this anymore. I'm not dealing with this anymore. I'm not gonna be in this relationship with you. I'm gonna walk away. And so because the government, because the system of whiteness, because the system of white inhumanity has existed based on its control of bodies, when the bodies, particularly Black folks, raise up and decide enough is enough, that becomes the most difficult, the most dangerous time of our lives. And so for those of us who are watching little children be left in hot cars by government workers, and they end up dead, this is the most dangerous time of our lives. When you see a Black man who is in his car and the cop busts the window on the side that he's sitting on and drags him out of that busted window only to arrest him with his face planted in the pavement, this is the most dangerous time of our lives. When you realize that there are people who are immigrants who are being hunted down like dogs, this is the most dangerous time of our lives. And yet, and still, we can keep going because we can redefine the relationship by saying, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to go over here and do something else. I don't care how much you beg me. I don't care how much you remind me of all the things that you've done for me. I don't care about any of that. I'm only concerned about me right now, because I've come to realize that if I don't take care of me, won't nobody else. And so we're going to think about that today as part of this conversation. Those of us who have come to the end of the line with the way things are, end of the road with the way things are in this world, and we're no longer going to stand for it. And we understand the consequences of making that decision, but we're going to make that decision anyway. And so here is our EJI tidbit for today. On July 26, 1949, a mob of hundreds of white men tracked down and shot Ernest Thomas, a 26-year-old Black man, over 400 times while he was asleep under a tree in Madison County, Florida. 2 days after being killed by a mob, a coroner's jury ruled that Mr. Thomas's death was justifiable homicide. Let me read that one more time. I need to read that one more time. On July 26, 1949, a mob of hundreds of white men tracked down and shot Ernest Thomas, a 26-year-old black man, over 400 times while he was asleep under a tree in Madison County, Florida. 2 days after being killed by a mob, a coroner's jury ruled that Mr. Thomas's death was justifiable homicide. Now, what in the world is justified by how can you justify shooting somebody? First of all, how can you justify shooting somebody 400 times? I mean, even when we talk about, I watch a lot of crime shows, and when we watch the crime shows, based on how the person is killed, the level of violence that is used to kill the person, that is a signifier as to the relationship the person probably had with their killer. So when a person is stabbed 56 times, when a person is stabbed and shot and strangled, then immediately those who are investigating the crime realizes that this is a crime of passion. You are angry, you are filled with rage, and nothing can make you that mad except an intimate relationship with somebody. And so this is overkill. And so that tells us something about the killer. So when you say that you shot this man 400 times, that tells us something about the killer. It takes a mob of hundreds of men to track down one man. What do you think about this man? You're giving us insight into how you feel about this man. It takes all of y'all to come, and then the man is asleep, not a threat to you at all, not even thinking about you, just trying for a moment as a black person to get some rest, because it is difficult in this world, particularly for black folks, to just get some rest, to steal away somewhere and be still and just be quiet and just be left alone. So here this man is asleep and he gets shot 400 times, and then the coroner has the audacity to say that this is justifiable homicide. How is that possible? Because everybody is involved in this system of white inhumanity. Every level of government is involved. That's what makes it systemic. That's what makes it institutional. The DA's office is in on it. The law enforcement office is in on it. The health officials are in on it. The housing authority is in on it. Everybody is a part of this system. So the coroner, of course, is going to stand on the side of the system of white inhumanity. Here is Lowe. Lowe says, I challenge anyone to dispute the following assertion that white-only communities are the most violent communities. I challenge anyone to dispute the following assertion that white-only communities are the most violent communities. Okay, so that's a challenge to y'all. He says white-only communities are the most violent. So call in to either dispute or agree with what Hotep is saying. The number is 501-433-0088. The number to call in to challenge this assertion, 501-433-0088. And so when I was here on Thursday, I talked about, I just mentioned briefly the community that's being built in, I want to say it's Ephraim County in Arkansas. It's a white-only community. And I did not want to talk about the community itself on Thursday because I wanted to focus on the fact that when I just looked up information about the county, I had found where there were 114 Black people living there. And I wanted to raise them up. I wanted to lift them up and begin to ask us and to ask the question, to pose the question, to offer up for your consideration, what are we going to do if in fact this town is going to, this community is going to invade this town where these people already are? Like, what happens to those bodies and what are we going to do about it? So I wanted to focus on that part of the conversation. But today I want to focus on the actual community itself. Right? So what they are calling themselves is, they're calling this movement the Return to the Land movement. Return to the Land. And first thing I want to say is that the people who are leaders of this movement that's now in Arkansas are not from Arkansas. So let me just say that these are outsiders who have come in, and they are continuing this movement that's happening in other places. And so they are now saying, okay, and they've already started building. They're already leveling trees. I think they call it felling, fell the trees. I don't know. They're already leveling the land. All of those things. They've already started building. They've already recruited people. Like they're already there. They're already there. They already have some kind of shelter. They already have access to water where they are swimming. They already are a community. So I want to make sure that you know that much at least. But I want to just take a moment and just think about the founding of this town, like how it's coming about, because I feel like it's a perfect example of how we got America, and it's a perfect example of the systems that we are entrapped in right now. And for those of you who are listening who have a difficult time understanding these conversations about why the system of white inhumanity, what system are you talking about? I don't feel like that. Like those of you who have difficulty, hopefully this will help if we pick it up out of the conversation that involves you and put it in the context of these people over here. Maybe then you can receive that dialogue, because a lot of times that's what happens, because we are in it, and when somebody says something about it, we feel it. We feel the ouch. It makes us defensive, and when we get defensive, we cannot hear clearly what the person is trying to say. We cannot listen actively. We cannot listen consciously, because we are offended. We're so mad about the fact that you just might be talking about me. So if I say we're talking about those people, then okay, let's look at them. Now we're not talking about you. Maybe you can open yourself up more to hear what the conversation is about. So here these people are, the return to the land folks, this movement that believes that America belongs to them. Well, the fact of the matter is that America, well, it didn't start out of America, but the people that came over started with the 13 colonies, all of that, but it eventually became America. So that's why I'm using America. When the people came over here, there were folks already here. You cannot claim a land as your own that is already occupied by other folks. So what you did was you stole the land. You forcibly removed the native people from the land. You brought diseases that killed them. You slaughtered them. You raped them. All manner of evil you perpetrated against them in order to claim the land as your own. So the land is not yours. So even the people who are now in Arkansas saying we are returning to the land, this is a movement so that we can keep white people on the land that that belongs to them. This is the same land. We don't have any new land. So the land that was stolen from the natives is the same land that you're building on now. So this is not your land. So the idea that this land belongs to white folks is a false narrative that we have to confront, because we're at the end of the road. Caller, you're live on the air, KABF 88.3. Thanks for calling.
Yeah. This is Chip Kerrigan in Conway. Is Charles Ray there?
No. Let me give you the number to the office. Do you have a pen? The number is 501-372-6119. 501-372-6119. You can find help there. Okay, so what was I saying? Oh, so this land. So they're saying we are here. So when you ask them why, what is it about? What are you doing? They say we want to make sure that this land is for white folks. That's what they say, because that's how they feel. Here's low. When you have the belief that you are not part of humanity but above humanity, then that false premise causes friction, confusion, as well as the propensity for violence. When you have the belief that you are not part of humanity, but above humanity, then that false premise can cause friction, confusion, as well as the propensity for violence. Yeah, so this is why we need to stop saying two things we need to do. The first thing, we have to stop saying white supremacy. Stop calling people white supremacists. Stop talking about supreme, superior. Stop it. Because white people are not supreme. And whenever you use those words together, white supremacists, what you are doing is reiterating the notion. It's a false notion, but you're reiterating it as if it were true. You're saying it as if it is a thing. And it is not a thing. It is a lie. That's what it is. And so when we stop saying it and call it what it is inhumanity. For you to deny people access to health care, that is inhumane. For you to deny people food, that is inhumane. For you to deny people employment that has a living wage, a sustainable wage, so that they can be independent and care for their families, that is inhumane. When you decide that people are only going to live where you want them to live, and then you pack them together in these projects and you deprive them of the resources that they need to care for their communities, that is inhumane. When you force people to have children and then put them in foster care so they can be abused or used for financial gain, that is inhumane. That is not supremacy at all. So the first thing we have to do is stop saying white supremacy, because you have to train yourself out of the false notion, because that's what conditioning means. That I've conditioned you to believe something that's not true. I've programmed you, I've indoctrinated you, and I've worked it so that it's inside of you, and I've pushed it way down deep so that you can't help but believe it. And even if you don't believe it, you say it anyway, because you're on autopilot. You're not even thinking about it. You reinforce it without even knowing it. But if you say, no, I'm going to unlearn what you have taught me. I'm going to unlearn these words, white supremacy, and I'm going to replace them for the truth of what it is, which is white inhumanity. We're on our way to doing better about living in the spirit of Sawubona. Second thing we need to do is start capitalizing the word Black every time it refers to people. Start capitalizing it. Even in your text messages, start capitalizing it. Caller, you're live on the air at KABF. Thanks for calling Community Voices.
Yeah, this is Chip Kerrigan again. I'm sorry, I didn't get that number of Charles Ray in the office. Can you give it to me again?
Yes, it's 501 372 6119. 501 372 6119.
Okay, thank you.
When you begin to capitalize the letter B in Black, something happens. Something's going to happen in your psyche. First of all, you're going to forget to do it. And when you forget to do it, you're going to realize that you forgot to do it, which means now you got to go back. And in going back, you got to remind yourself or think about or even consider, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because I need to remind myself, I need to teach myself, I need to unlearn the lies about Black folks and realize that they are worthy as a community to be capitalized. They are worthy. They are not a color like a crayon. They are a whole nation. This is Community Voices. Thanks for calling KABF.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Sister Denise.
Yes.
And to your listening audience, and those on the web, I briefly would just like to say something. I really commend you and those who call in. What you're doing is an effort to make things so much better for the whole of our so-called Black experience, if you will. Since before there was the United States, there has been a suppression, if you will, or an omission of the efforts of the Black woman. I mean, most people don't seem to know about it. We go along with this brainwashing that's done each and every day. But if it wasn't for Black women, there would be no Black men. You got to have her first to even have her. So to keep it going, she has to do what you're doing. And there's an effort to not only suppress what you're doing, but to omit it from the annals of history. They don't read write about what you're doing. You hear about Paul Revere before there was a United States. He rode to warn the countrymen of the coming of the British. But that was a black girl that rode 40-some miles on horse to warn people. You never heard about her. Check the annals of history. She rode all night long and throughout the day to warn of the coming of the British, so that those who want to be liberated and form this country could exist. You never hear about her. Her name was Ludington, some Civil Ludington, I think. There's a lady that's responsible for the computer as we know it today, a mathematical genius. She was a high official in the Navy, great power. You never hear about her. There was a lady a young lady, here she got pregnant. You never hear about her. She rode the buses in Montgomery before Rosa Parks. But they omitted her from history and suppressed whatever it was that she did first. They want to give everybody credit for the Underground Railroad except Moses. Well, Moses was an acronym, that's her code name. But we know who she was and what she did. So I commend you for all that you're doing in trying to get the efforts to everybody come together and do what's right. I don't know what, that folks would revive the ERA, because the smoke-filled white men see it as a threat to their supremacy. So they make sure that women don't have this right enshrined in the Constitution, which would make it lawful and legal to not marginalize the efforts of the woman. And the black woman is the reason they're doing it. They would have passed it if it didn't empower black women. The ERA would have been passed I don't know how long ago if it hadn't embraced and empowered the black woman, who, for whatever reason, they'll tell you black women to control it. That's why men don't like them. They think they're this. When they get a little something, they do this, and they talk about how black women so bad sometimes. You say, are they talking about the woman that raised me? Are they talking about my sister? Are they talking about my cousin, my auntie? And they got this narrative that black women are hard to get along with, that they're hostile, if you will, in their efforts to rebut or when they try to communicate with others. And they put a narrative on them that's anything but the truth. So I just want to make that known. And we ought to quit falling for that. We ought to quit going along with that. Our women are hard to get along with. Our women is this and that. When they get a little something, they're this. And they're this, they're that. We don't know how to get along with them because they try to control us and all that. And I get sick of it myself. Because, I just sit back and listen to you all the time. Boy, I'm so proud of you. I don't know what to do. Those who call in with the information that they do and to help your show go get along, I love them. I haven't met them, don't know who they are, but I know what they're trying to do, and I appreciate them. I hope they'll keep up the good work. And that goes to Pat Ward and all of them. I really do appreciate their efforts. But it's always an effort to suppress and omit what the contributions of our sisters are. And that's what I wanted to add to your conversation today. And as far as this, back to the land, I mean, like you said, they took it from the Indians and then lied about it. The Indians said, well, these folks are crazy. They own the water, own the land. They don't make none of this stuff, but they got it all. And I'll leave the conversation with that, and hopefully somebody else will expound on it. But all of these are efforts to keep the black woman from being in her proper place. And he already would have done that in a sense, or helped. But because of what he would have done for black women, it's been swept under the table. They should revive it right now. I'll never hear anybody say anything about it. With that, I'll get off there.
Thank you, Ezekiel. Let me give you a couple of names that he mentioned. Instances that he mentioned regarding Black women, when he talked about the woman who rode the horse for the American Revolutionary War. Her name is Sybil Ludington. And then the woman who was the young girl, really, she was young, Claudette Colvin, who was really the young woman who decided not to give up her seat on the bus before we get to Rosa Parks. So just wanted to lift up those two names. Thank you so much for bringing them into the space, Sybil Ludington and also Claudette Colvin. I do want to say this about the part about Black women, how we are, especially Black men, the way that they respond to us in comparison to other women, particularly white women. And they say that we have attitudes, we are more aggressive, we are harder, those kinds of things. At least that's what I've heard. I don't want to talk about every Black woman's experience with a Black man because I don't know it. I can only tell you about my experience with Black men. And what they say all the time is that they want a strong Black woman. That's what they say. But then when they get hooked to one, like me, that's the last thing that they want. And what we don't have a tendency to do in relationships is take into account the other person's story. It's so much easier for a white woman to just be carefree. The world has made it so much easier for her. But when you think about the burdens that melanation brings to this world for everybody who is melanated, but particularly for Black folks, if you think about the burdens, there's so much that we have to navigate. We would not be, if I as a Black woman tried to walk this life like white women do, I wouldn't survive. And so we got to get to the point where we're having conversations, where we're hearing each other, where we're learning from each other, we're sharing stories, and we're opening ourselves up to the story, and we're being more graceful with each other. So I appreciate you saying that, Ezekiel. And I want to say this. One of the things that's keeping us from doing that is church. Miss Garner invited me to her church on Sunday. She knows that I play at my own church on Sunday, but she was like, it's okay, we'll still be there. And she's right. I didn't get there till almost 1:00, and he was still preaching. And he preached a minute after I got there. But her church is Holy Cross right here on 12th Street. And I looked around, and as I was looking around, I just felt it in my spirit. I already knew it, but I asked the question anyway. So there's a woman beside me, and I leaned over and I asked her, could women preach in the pulpit? Could women preach at the church? That's what I asked her. She said, oh, yes, we have women ministers, but they can't get in the pulpit. They can preach, but they have to preach from over here on the side. And I just said, thank you. So afterwards, they had this thing where they want to have this Women's Day program. And Ms. Garner was like, I'm going to put your name in because you need to be, you should be the speaker of the hour. And I was trying to say no, but she wasn't hearing me. So I said, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to reach out to the pastor, and I'm just have to send him a note that says, I know that my name is going to be put in this hat, but I need to let you know already that I will not. I'm declining the invitation because I will not come and preach at a church that will not allow women in the pulpit. That's a Black church still talking about women can't preach in the pulpit. So these ideas that white inhumanity have indoctrinated, programmed, and conditioned us to believe. That is a system. They rooted in religion, yes, but they created the religion that they gave us. They fixed it so that we had a slave Bible. They gave us the certain scriptures that they wanted us to have. So we've got to be careful what we choose to believe and how we choose to live it out. Okay, thank you, Ezekiel. So let me go back to the second thing we need to do is capitalize the word Black. Every single time you are reminded to capitalize the word Black, you are unlearning and unremembering and giving yourself a chance to rethink what the world has taught you about Black folks. And Lowe gives us, I think this is great. He says, think of the action of a capital G versus a little g in the word God. Many of you, if you use a lowercase letter for G, for God, you would immediately go back and change it. Why? Because you think that God is important enough to deserve a capital letter. So that's what I'm saying about Black folks. We are important enough to deserve a capital letter. And you having to do that, to be intentional about that, will help you unlearn and unremember the myths about Black folks and people of color that this world continues to teach, this world continues to display. So the people, when you talk about return to the land, what's happening up in this other part of Arkansas, they say, well, they want that this land is theirs. And so we know that the land was stolen and the land was built. This land was built upon by Black folks, the members of the African diaspora. So we built this country. I still remember when President Obama and First Lady Michelle Obama were in the White House, and she talked about the feeling of walking on that grass and thinking about her ancestors that built that house, and the backlash that she received from white folks about, no, they didn't. It was just unreal. Like, so this movement that thinks that this is their land because it belongs to white people, like, this is misinformation that's causing you to move in a way that further divides us as community, because you're trying to create a community on land that's not yours without acknowledging the people like me whose ancestors built the land, built upon that land, so that you can have something that you think belongs to you. You can have a life that you think you deserve that's better than what anybody else deserves. All of that is misinformation that you continue to perpetuate. And yes, there were children, their children living there, so they're teaching this to their children. So we got another generation coming up believing in the system of white inhumanity. But we've come to the end of the road. It's time for us to raise up and say, hey, we're not going to do this anymore. So the question becomes, those of you who are like, we see this happening, we see this community, we don't agree with it, but what are you doing about it? White folks, what are you doing about your white folks that's up there talking about this our white land? And you know they lying. What are you doing about it? And then they also talked about the fact that they want to return to the land because they want to honor their Christianity, like their faith of being Christian. This is a Christian land. The lies, the lies, the lies. This country was not built on Christianity. That is a lie. It was built on the freedom to practice your religion, whatever it is. And now you've got a president who's saying that it is okay for federal workers to proselytize on their job. So your supervisors, your coworkers, they can now government time, spend time talking to you about why their faith is correct. Not about, hey, let's just talk about faith, or hey, my faith makes me whole. Like, what, just having a conversation where faith comes up. No. I want you to know why mine is right, and I want you to consider why yours is wrong. That's where we are now. And so we're at the end of the road to where we cannot continue to move forward in this way because it's not sustainable. And so when you talk about violence, like, I don't see how it's not possible for us. That's not true. We shouldn't be surprised when things go violent. Now you see these videos now where did you see the one? I should not laugh, but y'all, I got tickled because there was this Black man who was in line at a store, at a retail store. He was in line already at the conveyor belt checking out. And this white woman comes behind him. First of all, this is not the exit. This is the line to check out. And so she comes because she's trying to leave she wants to leave the store, but she uses the checkout lane as an exit lane. And so she pushes him to get him out of her way, even though she's in the wrong space. And just by instinct, he busts her in the face. He busts her in the face. Now, I really do not believe that he was trying to fight the woman, but she pushed him, and that was his reaction. We at the end of the road. You are going to have to rethink how you are interacting with folks, because it's no longer sustainable what we've been doing. Now, am I advocating violence? No. I'm just saying the stuff that you do is going to cause people to be violent. That's all I'm saying. So here's Lo. Lo says, not only built DC, but laid out, surveyed, and designed the capital city. Benjamin Banneker, a Black man. Oh, so this is in response to what I said about Michelle Obama on the lawn of the White House. Not only did they build the White House, but they built DC, and they laid out, surveyed, and designed the capital city. Benjamin Banneker, a Black man. So Black people, our fingerprints, our footprint is all over this world, and definitely this country. So for these people to be up there talking about, we want to have our land. It's our land, it's our faith, and the faith is Christianity. The other thing, so there's three things that they're rooting this town on. One is it's their land, two is their faith of being Christianity, and three, they want to preserve their culture. Three is they want to preserve their culture, American culture. White people, you have no culture. That's just bottomline.com. Everything that white people say that belongs to them, if you talk about fashion trends, if you talk about hairstyles, if you talk about designs, like whatever it is, it started with us. It started with Black folks. And what they do is they'll take something that Black folks are doing. So let's just talk about braids in the hair. They'll take something like braids in the hair and they'll say, oh, that is not an acceptable hairstyle. It doesn't look professional. It is not something that we should support. And so they demonize it, they dehumanize it, make it seem like people who have braids in their hair, they're awful, they're bad. You don't want to be around them. They're not the type of person. They're not good people that you really want to be around. They got a bad character. They say all of these kinds of things. And then lo and behold, after you've said that braids on Black folks so bad, you'll see somebody like Bo Derek. Y'all remember Bo Derek? Who had braids in her hair. Oh, so wait a minute. Now that this white woman has braids in her hair, braids are okay. And so what white people do is you co-opt something that belongs to somebody else. You talk about it and run it into the ground like it's the worst thing ever. And then at your appointed time, you pick it up. And because it's on you, because you believe that you are better, that everybody else is inferior, now you think that it's okay. So when we see that whatever it is on you, then now we're supposed to celebrate it. Now we're supposed to honor it. Now we're supposed to follow. Oh, now it's trendy. Now everybody wants to do this. And so then you say, oh no, this is part of American culture because you mean white culture. No, it's stolen. And so all of what these people are doing, all of what they are rooting this movement in, everything that they're rooting it in, the fact that the land is the idea that the land is theirs, the notion that this is a Christian land, and then the idea that they have some kind of culture that they need to preserve. All of that is misinformation that's leading them to make these moves that are not good. But I'm not surprised. I wouldn't be surprised if the government supports it. Like, it's interesting because when you read the articles, you hear the Attorney General saying he hadn't heard about it. Oh my, what are you talking about? I never heard about it. Now, how are these people up here building and y'all ain't heard about it? A whole community, a whole town, and y'all ain't heard about it. And so to think that the government is not a part of this, that would be disillusional on our part. We've got to stop making excuses. We got to stop believing for the best. We got to stop hoping. I know that when I facilitate conversations, one of our touchstones is to assume good intentions. That we want to make sure that we open ourselves up. So even if somebody says something that we disagree with, we're going to assume that they didn't mean it. Give them an opportunity to explain when we ask a question. Give them an opportunity to clarify. Don't just cut their heads off because they said something that you didn't like. But when it comes to this world that we're living in now, we cannot assume good intentions because the world has already showed us exactly who they are. Caller, you're live on the air at Community Voices. Thanks for calling.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. I would like to say, when a writer, say an author, write a play. Okay, he writes the play out and he writes all the characters that's gonna be in it and all the parts they're gonna do. I think what people don't realize, everything they wrote out already that's going to take place, in a sense. So I know we think we got free will, but prophecy and all of these things was wrote years and years ago, thousands of years ago. And what we are dealing with in the time we in is way more serious than the everyday everything that we're going into. I mean, this thing, technology and thing got people thinking God done it, and all this technology that's been around for years and thousands of years. And I think we need to start looking at things a little bit different from what we doing. I'm not worried about them people want their own little city here, or the Quakers got them, Mormons got them, everybody here, Jewtown, Chinatown. So there's no big deal there, really. Thank you.
Thank you, caller. I don't think I'm too worried about it at all either. Like, I said that on Thursday. I would love to go to a space where it was just Black folks. Can I just get to a place where we can just be, Lord have mercy, where we can just have some time to ourselves? Like, I feel you on that part. But I do think that we have to consider the why behind it. And I do think we have to consider the support of the government because as it relates to it, regarding it. So that's the part that I do think that we need to pay attention to for sure. Here's what Lo says. Caucasians are not indigenous to any place on the planet. Caucasians are not indigenous to any place on the planet. In other words, you can't claim nothing. You can't claim no land around here. No way. You can't claim that this land is yours. And so what's really intriguing to me about the people that are a part of the Return to the Land movement that is behind this town that's being built in Arkansas is that it is exactly what we are dealing with. They took the playbook, so a part of what the caller said about that the destiny has already been written, the part of what he's saying, what I hear is, what I am taking from that for right now is that they looked back and saw the design. How did we get the United States of America? How did we get it? We stole land. Oh, okay. Step number one, let's go steal some land. And that's what they did. So then they said, oh, okay. Well, what else did we say about America? That this is this is a Christian country. We're gonna make people believe that this is a Christian country. That's what we've been telling people. Oh, okay. Well, that's what we're gonna say. We're gonna stand on our faith. We're doing the same thing. And then we're gonna say, well, we gotta do it because this is what the white man's destiny is. Because the Magna Carta, all that, whatever that is, that told you that continues to tell you this lie that you believe. And so they just following the blueprint. And so something has to disrupt that. Again, I'm not talking about the town. Something has to disrupt that thinking. And it has to be disrupted in your own mind first, because you cannot share with somebody a story that's not yours. When somebody talks about, when we listen to people share stories, most of the time we want to hear from somebody who's been directly impacted by it. Isn't that right? Like, I can talk about what it means to be a parent because I absolutely see myself as a parent. I live as a parent. I operate as a parent. I'm taking care of children like I'm a parent, all of that. But I have not had biological children. So there are some of you who would say to me, you can't tell me nothing about being a parent till you have a child. You don't know what it's like. So we love hearing from people who are directly impacted by something so that we can feel their heartbeat when they talk to us. So we can put our finger on the pulse and know that what they're saying comes from a place that does not lie. So when we redefine the world for ourselves, when we redefine who we are in this world, when we get to the point where it's our own story that I am divine as a Black person, that you are not, I am not inferior to anybody, that you not gonna control my body. When that becomes our story, then we can help somebody else hear that story, because it's gonna come from a place that does not lie. So we've got to unlearn, we've got to unremember so that we can operate differently and then affect change in the world. And we ain't got no time because we're at the end of the road. And honestly, I don't really feel like we're starting at ground zero. Some of y'all know y'all complicit. Some of y'all know y'all need to tell the story. Some of y'all know y'all need to stop playing with these people. So it's not like you got to start at ground zero. You just need to take a step of courage. You need to have the courage to do what you know is necessary, because we are absolutely at the end of the road. Thank you so much for joining us for Community Voices. We have been live right here at KABF 88.3 FM, where we are the voice of the people. You got your girl Lola already at the door, ready for 2 hours of jazz. And don't touch that dial. You want to hear this music that is being played. You want to hear her talk about the artists. You want to be in this space. And I'm going to get her started with Jazzy Tuesday. She always starts with the ladies. And this is I Can't Make You Love Me. I played it on last Tuesday, but I played Bonnie Raitt because I couldn't find nobody black. She's like, girl, I know somebody black. I'm like, well, who is the black woman? Candace Springs is the black woman. And here she is singing for you. I Can't Make You Love Me. Don't touch that dial. I'll be back soon.
Oh my God. Girl, this part is beautiful.